My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. You have a sense of what you want in life, and yet it seems to escape you. You've read the books, taken the seminars and classes, done what you thought you needed to do to manifest your dreams, and you are still disappointed. You may have conditioned your mind to believe that nothing will change, and perhaps that you are not worthy of fulfillment and happiness. Is there a way you can turn this around? My guest this week on Destination Unlimited, nationally known astrologer and intuitive counselor Monte Farber, says there is, through the science of quantum affirmations. Monte Farber's brilliant and empathic insights impact everyone he meets. Born and reared in Brooklyn, New York, Monte has developed his own method of psychic perception, a combination of his creative channeling with streetwise spirituality, common sense, intuition, and a genuine love for the human spirit. As best-selling author of more than 40 books and tools about tapping into the wealth of spiritual guidance that is within us and all around us, he has sold more than 2 million copies around the world in 14 languages. Living in the exclusive Hampton area of Long Island, New York, he has personally counseled many of the celebrities and business elite who know him as the best astrologer in the Hamptons. His remarkable insights and down-to-earth advice have been endorsed by leading visionary authors and company executives who use his unique skills as part of their important decision-making mix. In his work and workshops, he shares with his clients and audience the kindness, good humor, and deep wisdom that has enabled him to find true love with his wife and collaborator of 40 years, artist Amy Zerner, along with prosperity, spirituality, contentment, and genuine success. His work has been featured on Fox, ABC, Oxygen, We, Lifetime, and in the New York Times. His best-selling books include The Enchanted Tarot, Karma Cards, The Soulmate Path, and Sun Sign Secrets. He joins me this evening to discuss his new book and program, Quantum Affirmations, the New Energy Science of Conscious Manifestation. Please join me in welcoming to Destination Unlimited, Monte Farber. Good evening, Monte.
Good evening, Victor. I'm so impressed with myself. I'm sitting here beaming.
It's wonderful to finally have you on the show. I had the pleasure of meeting you and your beautiful wife, Amy, several years ago. And I'm delighted that we're both natives of what I believe to be the birthplace of modern civilization, Brooklyn, New York.
This is true. I was going to say, after that introduction, I was going to say, well, it's a living. Which is a very Brooklyn thing to say.
Absolutely, it certainly is. So let me ask you about your early life in Brooklyn and how to put you on this long and wonderful path.
Well, I had a lousy childhood.
Didn't we all?
Yeah. Well, I just think I was very, it was 19. So I was born in 1950. Think about it. 5 years prior, the war had ended, World War II. All the fathers had seen horrible things in the war or else had suffered deprivations during the Depression. Same thing with the mothers. And here comes the 50s with all the change and all the prosperity. So everybody didn't really know what was going on. And it was a dark time for me, but I always think that any person who's grown up in a dysfunctional family is half psychic already, because you have to come in every morning and go, what are they gonna do today? You never know what's going on. So you have to develop your intuitive skills like an animal to survive. And so my father was a New York City police sergeant. My mother was mentally ill in and out of mental institutions. They don't even have mental institutions in New York anymore. They just dump people on the street. And it was if it wasn't for my aunt, who was a very loving person, I don't think I would be the person I am today, my Aunt Rose and my Uncle Morris. And so I first got involved with spiritual things after first getting involved with eating correctly when I was about 16. I became a vegetarian and natural foods. And someone told me about the book Autobiography of a Yogi, and then I think I also read Be Here Now. And so the books have had a strong impact on me, which is why I'm so proud to be part of the books that are having impacts on other people. That's how I basically got into it. And then when I met Amy, she was studying astrology, and I was studying Amy, so I learned astrology.
That's a wonderful. I saw that quote in your bio. Tell us more about that experience.
Well, we met at the filming of a porno movie. I was playing music. And we got my band got hired to play at the rooftop party scene, and she was my girlfriend's girlfriend, and my girlfriend was sick of me, and so I met Amy, and she brought Amy so that maybe I'd be interested in Amy, stop bothering her, and we really clicked. I was 24. And we've made this life together. She was studying astrology. Her friend Rupert Smith, who used to print for Andy Warhol, had gotten her into astrology. She was studying it with a teacher on Grant Street. And I learned it. I had thought previously that there was nothing to it, that it was nonsense. It's what you read in the newspapers, if you remember what newspapers are. And they'd have an astrology column. And I found that there was something to it because, as we were discussing before, I went to Brooklyn Tech. I always thought of myself as sort of half a scientist. I always approach things, if they don't work, I'm not interested. And astrology worked. And I found out that I was good at it. And I took it as far as I could. In 1986, I tried to sell a concept I had of cards that had the meanings of the planets, signs, and houses of astrology on the cards in words that made sentences. And this was before I had a 64-bit computer. I did it in my head. I made these sentence fragments. When Lifetime licensed it, they called it the slot machine of fate. And so a person would shuffle each deck and you'd take the top card. It would be the planet, then a sign, then a house, and would make a sentence that would tell you stuff. And karma cards came out the same year that Nancy Reagan was discovered to have been interested in astrology. And so the first printing for Penguin books went from 15,000 to 45,000, and it sold out. It's been selling ever since. We just had the 30th anniversary of Karma Cards.
That's wonderful. Let's get back a little bit to the concept of science and mixing science and spirituality, because that's also my birth religion, is the crossroads of science and spirituality. And I know you studied comparative religion. Tell us about that, and also how you mix science and the esoteric together.
Well, what they used to call the Akashic Record is now called the quantum field. And what they used to call priests are now called scientists. And anyone who knows anything about quantum physics knows that the things they say sound crazier than anything any spiritual person has said in the last 100,000 years. And as Niels Bohr said, if quantum mechanics doesn't sound strange to you, you haven't really understood it. I mean, even Einstein, who was part of the beginning of quantum physics, hated it and said, God doesn't play dice with the universe. And I think it was Niels Bohr who responded, don't tell God what to do. So, I mean, it was the classic, this is great, it works, but we hate it. Because it's quantum physics is really the explanation for why spirituality is not nonsense. It's the essence of existence. I've always been interested in the nature of personal reality, and so when there was a book called That Exactly, The Nature of Personal Reality, it was called by an entity named Seth, by a woman named Jane Roberts up in Elmira, New York. I read that book, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And it seemed, it talked about you create your own reality, and I've always held up any spiritual teachings. Autobiography of Yogi is a lovely book to read, but I always hold up every book of spirituality up against what is true scientifically, because science, there's nothing wrong. It's just like I like Western medicine. Everyone, Western medicine. No, but there's a lot of, gold is where you find it. And I have always tried to come up with a scientific correlation to what I've been learning spiritually, but quantum affirmations, which is something that I've it's what I call, how did I get here? Because I had this horrible childhood where I wasn't happy, and the big kids used to beat you up, and you walk around the corner and you're in a different gang area, and even though my father was a cop, there were some times that didn't protect you. And how did I get from there to having this loving relationship for 43 years with the most amazing genius artists in the world, and to be happy and to have realized myself as an author when I never even knew that was a possibility. And I realized that I had formulated this understanding of reality called quantum affirmations, and that's when I did the book. And it's science-based.
We're going to share more about that later on in the show and talk about Monte's Mystery School, which incorporates the work of quantum affirmation. But let's get back a little bit more to this thing about science and spirituality. As a kid, my listeners know, and I've shared with you and I've shared with others, I had a lot of what I would call spiritual encounters or experience, where the presence of my grandfather's spirit just after he had passed away appearing before me, and many other things that happened that I was told was the products of an overactive imagination until I actually had evidence that these things were taking place. And I couldn't explain that, especially in the 50s and 60s. It was very hard to get these ideas across to my parents and to other adults, teachers, and so on. And I was labeled as strange and weird and out there. But we're starting to see now that all of this, really, that there's a bond between the two fields, isn't there?
Oh, of course. And yes, I mean, you would think that after they discovered radio and you realize that tuning to a frequency, or when they found the right generator where tuning to a frequency of a cancer cell would destroy it, where resonance, that you would think that with science approaching that level of sophistication, that people would understand that we are radios, we are televisions, we are sophisticated machines that can plug into the quantum field, the Akashic record. It's not magic. Well, it is. It's the magic of science and the science of magic. I think that they meet in spirituality because it's conscious direction of scientific principles.
And we'll be back with more of Monte Farber and quantum affirmations after these words on the OMTimes radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello! Join us, Lisa Berry and Michelle Carter, every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the Mindset Makeover, What's Possible. Get ready to become present, clear, and unstuck, and start living fully, led by your heart. While you listen and feel this transformation through vibration of word, sound, and song, you'll open up to what's possible and experience your shift.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this evening, the amazing Monte Farber. We're going to be talking about Quantum Affirmations, his new program and book. So, Monte, getting back a little bit to some of the earlier work that you had done, you had mentioned about doing the astrology cards. You also developed cards for other esoteric systems. Please share a little bit about that.
Well, after Karma Cards came out and it did so well, of course, the first thing they want to know is what's next. So we did the Enchanted Tarot, and I wrote the book for the Enchanted Tarot. Amy did 78 of her National Endowment for the Arts award-winning fabric collages out of cut, and it's sewn and no glue. And she did 78 tapestries that is a tarot deck that has sold since that time. and I wrote the book for it with her late mother. She did a lot of the research, Jessie Spicer Zerner, who I love and miss and think about every day. And we took it from there. Then we came up with a new concept called The Alchemist, which was about fire, air, water, and earth. And they're all divination systems. They're all about getting in touch with the divine within you. We did Goddess Guide Me, which was sort of one of those exquisite cadaver, when kids take it and everyone draws a face and all the pages are, the paper is folded and then everybody draws a middle and then everybody draws a bottom. So that was Goddess Guide Me, which also gave advice, and that used dice. We've come up with a lot of ways of what we like to call them spiritual power tools. You supply the energy and they will give you guidance. So we've just kept going with those, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. We've actually sold Goddess Guide Me in 3 separate forms. And then we did, here's a real, this is true now. In the 70s, before we did any books, we found a Ouija board in like a thrift shop, and Amy found out she had a facility for it, and she was doing it, and it said, I am Van Fold, William Fold's brother. And at the top of every Ouija board, it says, by William Fold, copyright William Fold. He says, Van Fold here, and William stole the idea from me, and I'm going to give you an idea. We have the notes. They're in handwritten notes that Amy was spelling this out because she's an Aries and she's very fast, so she did it fast. You're going to do this. I swear this really happened. You're going to do the psychic circle. The spirit described the board, described the size, which was a big issue when we actually did it. Circles are this, circles are that. Life is a circle, and we're like, what a bunch of nonsense. And then years later, we were going to our astrologer friend, Leor Warner. He says, it's time for you to do that round Ouija board. And we never even told him about it. So we always thought he was psychic. So we were going to, our first 2 books had done very well, or maybe the first 4 had done okay. And we were going to the book fair, and we went down to Canal Street and got a disc of plastic like a hockey puck. And we went up to the different publishers. They're like, what do you got? And we said, we want to do a round Ouija board, and it's going to have this plastic thing, and it's going to move around. We'll take it. It was one of those kind of situations. And the Psychic Circle, we have about 14 projects that continue to sell. They're what's called evergreen products, because we're very involved with the business world. We do not think that there's a separation between business, art, science. We see everything as merging into everything else. It's like the picture on your Skype. We have energy coming out of us. Where do we stop? Where do we start? We think of the people we work with as artists, business artists, even if they don't think of themselves as artists. And we have great relationships with people because that's what it's all about.
What is the interaction when you give someone a tool, the tools that you folks create and beautifully created? What is the interaction that facilitates it for the person when they're using the tool?
What you mean? How did the interaction with them? Well, they're getting in touch with their higher self. Am I understanding your question?
Yeah, basically. In other words, these tools are facilitating something, some type of a connection. What is the connection they're facilitating?
Well, I think at the very beginning, there's sort of exercise equipment for your I don't know how to say it, for your intuition. They're intuition building. I once asked Amy, I said, what do you think is the common denominator of all human-caused suffering? I must have been in some mood to ask that question. And she said, without hesitation, she said, poor decision-making.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I thought, we make decision-making tools. That's what they are. It's not just, should I take the bridge or should I take the tunnel? It's people have questions. When I do counseling for people, they'll come to me and they're paying a lot of money, and I'll say to them, well, what do you want to know? And they're like, well, I don't know what I want to know. Why don't you just tell me stuff? I was like, that's not how I work. I want to, and it usually, as you well know, and as everyone who listens to you probably well know, it always comes down to fear. So I think the tools that we have help people get in touch with their higher self and get rid of the fear that they have. Because, yes, look what happened when you came and told people that you had seen your grandfather. They beat it out of little kids, either emotionally or physically, that when kids are having these spiritual experiences. So I guess we're trying to reconnect with the child within, lest you be as little children, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. I think that there's a lot of truth to that. Zen mind, beginner's mind, it's the same thing. It's all about, when you do a divination system, first of all, you have to assume that it's possible to work. And that right away is a big spiritual leap, to think that there is a connection between the moment. Carl Jung postulated synchronicity, that things that occur at the same moment have a relationship of significance, not necessarily causality. And so when you're doing a divination system, it presupposes the connections between this moment and you and the future. And I think that expands your consciousness right there.
Now, you and I have both been blessed with soulmates, and it really is a blessing when you find that person who truly is your soulmate, who is your better half, who not necessarily your better half, but your half, and completes you.
Oh, she's better for sure.
Okay, I was going to take that away.
I'm really not that nice, but she makes me nicer. It's like that great line in the Jack Nicholson movie, As Good as It Gets, where he goes, "You make me want to be a better man." Yeah. I think that sums it up.
I agree with you 100%. I actually share that sentiment. So you have your book, The Soulmate Path. How did your relationship with Amy help you to facilitate others in finding their soulmates?
Oh, my God. Well, one of the reasons I was attracted to her, she did not accept my lying to myself, my BS. And I just got the most amazing information from her. We sort of fell in love over the phone because she was in Manhattan, I was in Brooklyn. In those days, I didn't have a car or anything. And so we didn't see each other as much as we talked on the phone. And when I would speak with her, there was just this level, I like to call it the wisdom of years and the innocence of youth. She had both. And the fact that she was beautiful helped also. But it's like I said, she made me want to be a better man. I had said that I was committed to spiritual development, which I had. But when you have a partner, it's like having a training partner, I guess, in a gym.
Absolutely. The energy that's shared, and knowing that the energy flows just right with that one special person. It's just
for sure. And her mother, like I said, was wonderful also. And we all lived. Well, we didn't live together right the first year, but after that, we lived together until Amy's mother passed in '96. And those were the good old days. She was just a wonderful, wonderful person. And I think we were blessed with that, because when you're a young couple, everything's a big deal. And when you're with someone who's older, and then for a little while, we had Amy's grandmother living with us. I had 3 generations living here. You just get a perspective on life. Like you said, you grew up, you knew your grandfather. So knowing older people is a wonderful thing. And now I am an older person, and people say, your Enchanted Tarot was the first tarot deck, and now I'm a high priestess. And it's a very fulfilling feeling.
Absolutely. And more recently, you folks came out with a Signs and Seasons cookbook. Please tell us about that.
Well, this was something that we had kicking around since Amy's mom was alive. And we worked with our friend John Okus, who's a private chef, also from Brooklyn. I think actually from your neighborhood, Borough Park. And we had this great idea, but it was as if the scales had been lifted from people's eyes. HarperCollins came to us and said, "We want to do a book with you because the publisher of the new spiritual imprint we have used to work with you as a publicist when you did karma cards back in the 80s. And they said, "What do you got?" And we said this, that, the other thing. And when we said, "And we have an astrology cookbook," they sort of grabbed our hands and said, "That's it. That's what we want." And we worked on it for 2 years. I did all the photography, but that was the least of it. Amy and John spoke on the phone every day, designing all these recipes. And it's what it basically is a wonderful cookbook that has information about astrology in it. And we're actually, it's funny you brought it up. We're going to start doing a cooking show that we're going to start putting on YouTube. We have a whole cooking studio built. And we're going to start doing this show because it's just too much. Everybody has to eat. It's like Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff taught his students by cooking for them. They used to do these big dinners. We were privileged to know a man named Arnold Kaiserling, who had been a contemporary of Gurdjieff, his friend, not necessarily a student. And he told me all these things about what Gurdjieff used to do. Absolutely fascinating stuff. And so I think we're going to try and do a spiritual cooking show.
You know, it's funny, you mentioned about a spiritual leader or a teacher cooking for the students. Not necessarily, but I have a very quick short story. When I was taking yoga classes and facilitating meditation, I belonged to this wonderful group of people who used to do these Zen weekend retreats up to a Zendo in Livingston Manor, New York. And every Sunday, before we departed, the head monk, the Roshi, would provide us with this beautiful vegetarian lunch before we would leave. And also, as you know, Lori Sue and I both attended the New Seminary of New York, and I remember that old line from the Jim Morrison song, The Soft Parade, where he goes, "When I was back there in seminary school," and there was a line in that said also, "The monk bought lunch." Now, who would ever think that those two sentences would apply to someone in their lifetime, but both of those sentences apply to me.
See, but you were paying attention.
That's right. I was paying attention. I took the message and I ran with it. My guest this week on Destination Unlimited, the amazing Monte Farber. Monte, please tell our listeners where they can find out more about your new mystery school, about Quantum Affirmations, and all the wonderful work that you do.
Well, we're calling it Monte's Mystery School, and until we have that website up, you can go to Monte Farber, at Monte with an E, M-O-N-T-E, Farber, F-A-R-B-E-R.com. And you can find out all the information about me that you'd ever wanted to know, and maybe even a little more than you ever wanted to know. And or The Enchanted World. That's our website for Amy and my work together, or amyzerner.com if you want to see the best art, jewelry, and spiritual couture you've ever seen. Amy's been at Bergdorf's for 20 years, exclusive.
Wonderful. And we'll be back with more of Monte Farber after these words from the OMTimes Radio Network.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
What does Meals on Wheels do? They deliver meals and smiles to homebound seniors. But Meals on Wheels does something else. They turn a volunteer's lunch break into a meaningful experience.
As small and as simple as a relationship is between a volunteer and a client of Meals on Wheels, it's really so impactful. I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. That's americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Change and growth are part of natural life, and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week is Monte Farber. We're talking about his new work, Quantum Affirmations. So, Monte, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the mystery school. Why did you decide to create a mystery school?
Well, I had already done it in the sense that of the mystery school was all the books that I've done. And in ancient Alexandria, Egypt, the mystery schools, before you would get involved with things like psychic development, you would have to do your chores. You know, you'd have to get the basic grounding. So the divination systems, creating them helped me to become psychic. And I plus it sounds good. Monte's Mystery School sounds like It sounds like fun, and I guess it's a joke because the mystery is it's not a mystery. It's science. Like I said before, it's the magic of science and the science of magic, and quantum physics talks about particles, and the only difference between my understanding of quantum physics and the scientists, the real ones, is I say, well, maybe consciousness is a particle, and we can approach it as consciousness is a particle, because light can be both a wave or a particle. The photons of light, the famous slit screen demonstration, which showed that light could either be a particle or a wave, depending on whether consciousness was observing the experiment, which to me is the most spiritual thing in the world. But of course, it's like if a tree falls in the forest, it falls, and there's no one there to hear it. It falls differently than if there's somebody there to hear it. Isn't that enough to make people wake up to the fact that consciousness is magic and part of the whole scientific thing? Of course, scientists want to say, yeah, quantum physics is this, that, and the other thing, but astrology, tarot, oh my God, that can't work, whatever. Meanwhile, it's all probabilities and it's all connection to the quantum field.
Now, just to tell our listeners who are not familiar with quantum physics, just an idea about that. You talk about particles, and quantum scientists, quantum physicists have discovered that if you have two particles from the same atom, which can be far apart, or from the same element, which can be far apart, if you affect one, it affects the other, even though they're far apart.
Yes, that's called quantum entanglement. Yeah, it was one of the things that Einstein really didn't like, and he called it spooky action at a distance.
Yes, absolutely. So when you think about this, what are we talking about? We're talking about influencing something that doesn't seem to have an apparent physical connection.
Right, and the thing he really didn't like is that it's beyond space and time. You could take the particles to different sides of the universe, and you spin one, and the other one would go in the same direction. Yeah, and I'm telling you, he really he spent his whole life trying to disprove quantum physics and wasn't able to do it. And I think it behooves everyone to get a little bit quantum knowledge into you, because there's going to be quantum computing pretty soon, and it's going to make computing today look like horse and buggy stuff because of the speed and all the other stuff. So when we're talking about all the different quantum physics experiments, there's quantum entanglement. What my quantum affirmations tries to do is to quantum entangle you with the probable future, which is another quantum mechanics concept. Quantum mechanics postulates that in every moment, like a record groove, leading out from every moment, there's a bunch of probable futures based on your actions, your inactions, your history, your this, your that, your beliefs, whatever. And my thought is, how do you get to the probable future you want to get to? You want to quantum entangle yourself with that future. So that's what my book, Quantum Affirmations, and my technique that we're going to be teaching at Monte's Mystery School is all about.
Let's backtrack for a second. So we have an affirmation. I think most of my listeners know what an affirmation is, but for those who don't, what's an affirmation?
Well, everyone's really good at affirmations, except affirmation is what you believe without question. And affirmations, most people have it is like, well, I would do that, except I can't do it because of this. And that's an affirmation. What you believe without question, what your inner dialogue, Henry Ford put it really well. He said, whether you believe you can do something or you believe you can't do something, you're right. If you believe you can do so, it's what makes a difference between successful people. Of course, luck is part of it, but I think it was Jefferson who said, "I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more luck I have." So the whole business is to put yourself in a relaxed state of mind and to stop having the fear about what you affirm, because a lot of people affirm, oh my God, they affirm bad things, and they're really good at it. So the trick is to get really good at affirming. The basic affirmation is every day in every way I'm getting better and better.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
I think that was Ponder, a woman named Suzanne Ponder. Maybe I don't have a right first name, but the thing is, and the difference with my quantum affirmations is, your subconscious knows that in every day and every way you're not getting better. And the problem with affirmations, I was a good friend of Louise Hay, and I mean, she was a saint and an amazing person. All the people who do the affirmations, I have nothing but respect for them. But what happens when I write, I think about my audience, and what happens to your audience when they're doing affirmations is they come to a point where they start to see the negatives. Oh my God, it's so that there's like, I want more money, I want more money, I have more money, I have more money. And then the first thing they see about money that brings fear into them, or the classic one is that you win the lottery, the relatives come out of the woodwork and people you never met before want money from you. The minute they have that kind of negative association with what they're affirming, they stop. And with quantum affirmations, we embrace the negative because nothing is going to come into your life that's not going to have negatives. If you meet the ideal soulmate, your soulmate might not like your pet. Or if you make more money, you're going to have to figure out how to keep it. And then all of a sudden you're going to have all these it's not like rich people don't have problems, they have different problems. And that is what I realized had taken me from my sad childhood to my very, very happy present existence. I mean, we're all going to die, but we're going to live first, and we might as well live to the best degree we can and live life to the full. And quantum affirmations helps you to quantum entangle yourself with the future that you want to be living in. But it
also requires participation. I share the story, I've shared this recently, of this very, very pious religious man who one day went to his house of worship and he got down before the altar and he said, please, please, my wife needs an operation. Please let me win the lottery. And a week goes by and nothing happens. And he goes back and he says, I don't understand. I've always been pious. I've always been faithful. I've always been observant of your laws. Please let me win the lottery. Another week goes by and nothing happens. And the third week he's renting his clothing and he's crying bitterly. He says, I don't understand. How have I offended you? What do you want me to do? And a voice says, buy the ticket.
That's perfect. You got to be in it to win it.
Got to be in it to win it. Absolutely. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead with your point.
No, there's nothing to be sorry about. That's a great joke. Yes, you have to do it. So, but the thing with quantum affirmations is you only have to do it before you go to sleep and when you wake up. You do this very short visualization that you get to as the fifth step. It's a 5-step process, so I'm jumping ahead. But you do a visualization where you are absolutely immersed in the future you're trying to quantum entangle yourself with. And that includes the negatives. So it's, yes, I now have $8 million in the bank. And guess what? It's only $8 million. That's my I call it the law of one. Because if you have $8 million, it's only one $8 million. Then you're going to want another one. No matter, because we're human beings, So no matter what future you're in, is I found my soulmate, and there she is snoring next to me, and I really wish I could sleep, but I can't. It's to see that kind of reality level, or I'm a messy person and my new partner isn't. To see that kind of thing is not really a negative, but as part of the reality that is going to happen when you are in this probable future. Because in this probable future, you're never going to get to happily ever after. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. Happily ever after means, everyone has problems. It never goes away. So that's the difference between quantum affirmations and the other affirmations. But the first question with quantum affirmations, the first step is, what do you want? And that's actually the key to the whole process.
And how many people actually know what they want?
But that's what the book does, and that's what the course does, is to help you to figure that out. Because you can say, I want to meet my soulmate. And then you say, well, yeah, okay, why? And then, so the question is not, I want to meet my soulmate. The question is, I don't want to feel bad about being alone. Or I don't want to feel lonely. And you can not feel lonely right now. Just like, why do you want to have more money? Well, I want my bills to be paid. And I'll say, well, are your bills paid? And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, well, your bills are paid now. So let's keep going. You got to keep drilling down to find out what is the essence of it. And a lot of times with money, it's I want to feel secure. And there's a wonderful book by Alan Watts called The Wisdom of Insecurity. Let's face reality as brave people, instead of having these notions that things are going to reach a level that they never could possibly reach. And so you spend your whole life feeling like, I never really got to where I thought I could be. Well, no one can get to the happily ever after where you're not going to die, or where this person isn't going to die, or things aren't going to be bad. And it's part of life. It's what comes with the territory. So a quantum affirmation is designed to make you a brave warrior and not a worrier.
And just how does the quantum aspect relate to these affirmations? Again, just explain for our listeners, because I think that's an important point.
Well, the last one especially. Well, there's a couple of points, but the biggest one is when you do the fifth step, which is to create your contemplation, which is like you direct this movie in your mind where you're completely immersed in it, and I want you to see the negatives that come with what you're asking for, because that will tell your subconscious mind it's okay to quantum entangle yourself with that future. Like right now, I'm living in a present moment that was the future in past moments. And I'm experiencing all these amazing things that I thought could never happen. And am I living here with no problems? Of course not. So that's what I'm trying to do, is to help people do an affirmation series that actually works because it's reality based. And it understands that fear is the destroyer. It's our in the tarot. There's a position in the Celtic cross called the hope or the fear, and I always wondered, why is it called that? And one day I realized if you only hope for something, the odds are you're afraid of it, or else you'd have it already. And so, a lot of the steps of quantum affirmations are to step down you were talking about atoms, to step down the charge of negativity that you have about your goal. Because let's face it, if you're coming to me and you're saying, I want to reach this goal, you haven't reached it. So you have some negative associations with it. So we have to step down your charge so that your resistance to it actually coming in is not going to be influenced by the fact that it hasn't happened. You got to put the past behind you if you want to really move into the future. So quantum entanglement has a lot to do with charge, with particle charge, with the charge of your soul, the electrical charge of your soul. That's really the quantum aspect of it, is trying to reach that probable future and quantum tunnel to it. That's another concept, my God, quantum tunneling, where particles can go through anything to get to what they have to get to. So quantum physics really does sound like spirituality, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And we'll be back with more of Monte Farber and quantum affirmations after these words on the OMTimes radio network.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Join me, Maggie Chula, on Mondays at noon Eastern for Mastermind with Maggie. Let's work together in a mastermind. We can resolve life's problems and create goals for the future. Build action steps empowering you to create your life in partnership with your divine source of light, your soul. Manifesting your goals can be simple and easy, so come with your problems and leave with a plan. The Akashic Master Teachers and I are waiting to help you.
I rescued Toast from a shelter in 2011. I knew right then that she was special.
That's just one adoption story that started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, Save the Food, we're helping to stop food waste. Save the Food. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week, Monte Farber. He's the creator of Quantum Affirmations, the new energy science of conscious manifestation. So, Monte, we started talking a little bit about this concept of quantum entanglement and really embracing not only the goals that we choose for ourselves, but everything associated with those goals. How do we take ownership of that?
Well, you have to understand that what you believe, your beliefs, what you affirm, the things you believe without question, have brought you to where you are now. And if they've done that, then they can bring you to where you want to go. I think one of the things is making friends with yourself before you take ownership of it, because a lot of times people have a tendency to look at themselves as the reason they haven't accomplished what they want. They won't admit that, but it's as if you're saying to yourself, I don't think I'm good enough, or else I would have had it by now. And that is so not the case. It's all a question of clarity and clarifying and resonance. You have to resonate with that future you want to get to be with, or else you won't get there. You'll get to some other future. But that's part of the delight, is you get to the future you want to get to, but not the way you really thought you were going to get to, and you get to it a lot more fun. But if you're not willing to do the work, that's why we're doing this as an online course and we're charging for it. Oh my God, we're charging. Oh my God, everyone on the internet wants everything for free. Well, I've given plenty of things for free for years. And we even have a free online Quantum Affirmations course with movies and all this other stuff. But we're doing a 4-pay course because I have found a lot of times when you give people stuff for free, they don't value it as much as they say they want it. And I can't bring you to the future you want to get to, but you can. And I can help you do that. So I think you make a very. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No. I was not going to make another point.
No, I think you make a very valid point, and that point is that a lot of people don't recognize the type of work we're talking about as a form of energy, and that everything is an exchange of energy in life. So if I go to a store to buy something, I'm giving them currency that I've earned, and that's energy, and they're giving me a product that I need, which is energy. So it's all about exchanging energy. And I think a lot of people, especially those who work in the spiritual field and the healing fields, the alternative healing fields, have an issue with asking for what they're worth and asking for the exchange of energy.
I agree with you 100%. And to me and to Amy, commercial is not a dirty word. Commercial, it's commerce. It's what people do. I mean, I'm interested in what other people do, and if I'm interested enough to where I'll pay for it, I'll pay for it. It's like my friends invite me to come see them perform or do this and that, and they'll say, I'll put you on the list. I say, don't put me on the list. I'll pay. I don't mind paying. I don't want your books for free because I make my living this way, and there's nothing. I'm not. Yes, I do live in the Hamptons, but we live in the house she grew up in since she's 16. It's in the neighborhood where the people work. There's cops and landscapers and all kinds of people and retired people on the street. Yes, there's also Soros and all those other people live in the Hamptons. There's all kinds of people that live out here, but there's nothing wrong with getting paid for your work, and I want people to make a lot of money. I want people to be successful. If they want partners, I want them to have a partner. If they want a new apartment or a house, I want them to have it. A car, the same thing. And there's a way to do it, but I can't do it for you. I can give you like we were talking about tools. I can give you the tools, but that's about it.
Absolutely. You came up with a wonderful term, quantumplation. Give us another example of quantumplation.
Well, the quantumplation, when I thought of that word, I then looked it up, and it has the word templum in it, which is the temple. Templum is the place in Roman, what passed for religion back then, where they did auguries, where they would look out a window and see if birds going by, or else, unfortunately, they would do entrails and look and see what they found in entrails. So the word contemplation is the temple in your mind where you are connecting, I think in a very real way, with your consciousness to the probable future that you want to get to. And you do that by immersing yourself in it as much as possible. It's not like I want to have this, it's I have this. And how does that feel? There's, of course, the big aha and the relaxation of I have it, I have it. That in itself is incredibly powerful because that puts you in resonance with the actual future you're going to. And then you just go about your day. My friend Jerry Epstein, who's brilliant, he says you have to separate your intention from your attention. You can't go around all day thinking about what you want to create, It's like thinking about losing weight all day. You'll probably get so nervous you'll just eat more food. You just do it once before you go to sleep and once when you wake up. I can't say, in the night and the morning because some people work at night. And that's enough. And you will. The weirdest thing is you will change your reality. I know someone who I can remember her standing there and she was sad and she hadn't met anyone and she wasn't working in the job. Now she had met someone who's ideal for her. This is not just one of those, AB says wonderful things. This really happened. And it's not me, it's somebody else. And she has the job that she always wanted. It's not magic. It's science.
There's a lot of people who live in what I call perpetual pity parties.
Yes.
And say nothing's ever going to change. Nothing's ever going to happen for me. Why can't I do this? Or why am I... Holes. They're talking about having holes in their life. How bad is that?
Well, it comes right back to the Henry Ford. If you think you can't or you think you can, you're right. It's I am saying... with quantum affirmations, that your mind can bring you to the reality you want to get to. So how powerful is your mind? Way powerful. If you're using that same mind to go and just say, I can't do this, I can't, that's affirmations. You're a master affirmations person, except you're doing it negatively. You're doing it to your detriment. You're saying it can't happen. And of course, it brings you to the reality where it can't happen. But I'm saying, clean the cobwebs off your consciousness and get to work and get off your fat butt and do something, and you can create your life in a great way. It's like Amy and all the other great people I know who are really good at something. They never talk about it. They just do it. Out here, there's tons of artists and writers, and they talk about, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. They don't do anything. Usually, it's like Yoda in Star Wars. Don't talk, do.
Yep, don't be, do. Absolutely. Does each of us have the power of intuition?
I think so. I mean, if we are blessed enough to be able to be listening to your program and to not need care, I think we do have intuition, and it comes from the animal nature that tries to keep you safe. I'm not saying fear is a bad thing in the sense that you shouldn't have it, because that's what keeps you from walking off the edge of a tall building. I'm just saying that in terms of creating your future, fear will destroy that because you're not afraid of something that's real. You're afraid of you're creating fears where they don't exist.
How can we better examine the way we create reality?
I can spend the rest of my life answering that. Good question. Can you repeat that one more time? Because it blew me out of my chair, I think.
How can we better examine the way we create reality?
I think it comes down to showing up and doing it. I think that's what life is, right? Life is that, is understanding reality. And of course, you never get to the end of it. That sounds like a life well lived. Was it Plato who said an unexamined life is not worth living?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it behooves each of us. I know everyone's busy, and especially if you have young children, you're really, really busy. You don't have a time to think about anything. But I think it does behoove all of us to ask the question you just asked and to be the answer of the question you just asked.
Be what you will be.
Yes. And we all have it in us to live. If we weren't able to imagine the better life that we are imagining, we would never get to it. If you can imagine it, if you can think it, if you can see it, if you can say it, if you can feel it, if you can do the Quantum Affirmations course, you will get to that future. And sometimes it happens quickly, but miracles are possible.
Now, you're on the verge of launching very shortly the Quantum Affirmations program. How's the program structured?
Well, it's structured that in lessons. There's 5 steps, and each of the steps has over an hour worth of videos and worksheets and all kinds of stuff. And we're going to do it on April 16th, I think, because it's a new moon and it's after tax time, and that's a time when everyone's saying, "Oh my God, I need more money." So we're hopeful that they'll be willing to spend a bit, and that's the soft launch. And then May 15th, the other new moon, we're going to launch the hard launch. So if you join in April, between the soft launch and the hard launch, you get discounts, but it's hours and hours and hours of videos and me talking, and I interview people before they get into the quantum. I interview 4 different people before they get into it, during it and afterwards. We've been working on this for quite some time. We want to give people value. I'm a consumer just like everybody else, and I hate to get ripped off, and I hate to feel like I did something stupid, which I have done. And I just want to, if I'm so psychic, how come I do that? Because it happens to everybody.
What's your goal for Quantum Affirmations?
I want people to have wonderful lives. I have this wonderful life, and I want to share it. It keeps me healthy. It keeps me happy. And, happiness is born a twin. You just want to, how are we going to change the world if we don't change it one person at a time? And empowered people are going to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. My guest this week on Destination Unlimited, the amazing Monte Farber. Monte, please tell our listeners one more time where they can find out about your work and your products and your beautiful wife, Amy.
Oh, well, yeah, she is beautiful. Amy is easy. It's Amy, A-M-Y, Zerner, Z like zebra, E-R-N-E-R, amyzerner.com. Monte Farber, Monte with an E, M-O-N-T-E, F-A-R-B-E-R, montefarber.com. We probably will have a Monte's Mystery School website. Right now we have the enchantedworld.com. That's all our products, and it's a nexus for all the other websites. But montefarber.com, and you can sign up for Monte's Mystery School and get the discount, I hope. Everybody likes to save money. They don't have to be born in Brooklyn to save money.
That's right. Absolutely. Monte, thank you so much for joining us this evening and sharing all this wonderful information. I think it's a message a lot of us need to hear, and we need to hear it now. And please, next time when you come back, please join us with your beloved and beautiful Amy Zerner.
I certainly will. Because she's more interesting than I am, that's for sure.
I think together you're an amazing couple. And thank you for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor the Voice Furman. Have a wonderful week.